Monstrosity. Um, been a pretty you guys been like pretty solid since like oh God, what like the early 90s around
Yeah,
there.
90
Um
was when we formed.
yeah,
92 was the first album.
yeah. So take me through a bit about what it means to you to be in Monstrosity, like since then, since it's been, it's been like a fair bit of your life, and it's just continued to grow.
Yeah, well, I've been doing pretty much wanting to, be a drummer since I was 7 years old, and really never stopped. I've always kind of had that singular direction.
Yeah,
Um, I had my first band in fifth grade, and uh, later on had some high school bands, and then finally I moved to Miami and was hanging around with the band Cynic, kind of helping them out.
yeah,
And then from there, I auditioned for Hell Witch for a little bit, but they were too far away. It was like 2 hours away to drive. And ended up moving to Fort Lauderdale and joining Malevolent Creation.
of
And I
course.
was in that band for a year in '89. And we did their second demo. And we were pushing and like playing around locally and trying to get a record deal. We were talking with Roadrunner, and things went south with them, Malevolent. And I don't know, it took me probably another year before we finally got Monstrosity up and running.
Mm,
So, but I've just always had that drive. I've always, known what I was going to do, even since, I was a small kid.
yeah.
And this is what I do. I'm here
Yeah.
for life, pretty much, kind of thing.
So it must feel like, you kind of look back on things and you're like, whoa, like, this is my life.
Yeah, I'm just glad. I remember after the first album being thinking, like, am I going to get a second album? And here we are all these years later, and so we've been able to keep it going and
Yeah.
make
Yeah,
it happen.
absolutely. Well, the new album that's due out in sort of early March, Screams from Beneath the Surface, is obviously the first full-length album since the passage of existence in 2018. So apart from the split with A Malevolent Creation, how has it been with this evolvement, like what, 8 years later? Obviously, now you have Mark Van Erp back on bass, and also a bit of a new lineup. So how do you feel this represents the evolvement of Monstrosity and keeps you writing material?
Like I said, I'm doing this. We've been through many lineups at this point. Obviously George was in the band in the early days, and
Yeah,
we had to, fight through all the different uh, member changes and whatnot. Sometimes they leave because they want a family or they just don't like touring, which was the case of our last singer. So it just depends, but it's kind of like I'm just going to keep pushing ahead, and I keep writing material, and it's good to have Mark back in the band. It's as a second original member, and I know he's excited about it. He was kind of out of the music business for a long time, so
yeah.
he enjoys doing the tours and getting back out, and doing it again. Um, as far as I don't know, what was what was the question?
Oh, so yeah, just how you feel like it represents the evolvement of Monstrosity.
Yeah, I mean, we're just still able to keep doing it and to keep moving forward, and kind of the tricks that we learn on doing each album, we kind of put them into the next album. Like the lessons that we learn from
Yeah,
recording and being in the studio, and just always try to strive for a better sounding record and a better record, and the lessons that we learn in writing and what works and what doesn't work, and kind of what makes us happy, and
yeah.
just keep kind of continuing the path that we've been on.
Well, that's what it's about at the end of the day, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
it's such a huge part of you, so you have to be happy doing it.
You
And
know, the, we're hoping eventually that the people catch up to us, that like we've always kind of been gone under the radar as far as the mainstream thing. Everybody always talks about Obituary and Deicide and Cannibal and those kind of bands. And there's just so many bands and whatever. It's easy to get lost in the shuffle. So
Yeah,
um, we're just
absolutely.
hoping, with you know the last couple albums have been with Metal Blade worldwide, whereas previously we had only done Metal Blade for Europe. So we're hoping, eventually that, we can just get back and kind of some of this hard work will pay off on a bigger
Absolutely.
scale.
Yeah. Well, I think you're on the right road. So,
Hopefully,
this album is stunning. It's amazing. And there's lots of people I know in the UK that are really like, really looking forward to its release. When it comes to like songwriting, do you kind of envision how you want the product end to sound, or does it just come to you as you feel it?
it evolves, but yeah, I
Mm.
mean, yeah, I just kind of come in here like we're right where I'm sitting and just start, press record and start writing drum tracks, and then I'll usually fit guitar tracks that go along with those drums. That's how we did this album mostly, a lot of it. And then
Yeah,
there was, part of it, I'll be in the other room and I can do guitars in there, and then I'll fit the drums to the guitars. So it's kind of 50-50 how it
yeah,
works. Sometimes it's drums first, sometimes it's guitars first. It's usually never vocals first or lyrics. It's those that's usually last, just because it's easier to fit the vocals in over a prearranged music.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, going back to Dark Purity, it sounds like back then on that album that you had the foundations of production for you in terms of like brutal tones mixing with a bit of like techie tones, and that's been like quite present in a lot of your works. But I feel like Screams Beneath the Surface is kind of picking back up on that raw but new, like it's got honestly like obviously a new energy in it, but we back into that raw energy we saw on Dark Purity, like the Colossal Rage and Spiral are a really good example of this. When you've got like the old school style meets like maddening technical riffs and drums. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, with I think everybody realizes now, but like with Imperial Doom, it was brutal. Millennium was a lot more technical. We kind of probably went too far technical on that album. And so with In Dark Purity was kind of the first album we had where we kind of found the balance, perfect balance between
Yeah,
the two. And then the production was actually, we let Jim Morris kind of do his thing rather than try to backseat drive like we had in the past. And so the production was there, the songs were there, and we kind of found that balance. And kind of since then, we've been like more or less going with that formula. Um, it's hard to say, I'm so involved with it. It's hard for me to like to kind of step back and get
separate.
an overall view. Yeah, but to me, it's another album, and it's a continuation of kind of what we've done.
Okay, yeah,
Um, but that's kind of how it works. We just try to keep pushing and just try to write more songs. We're already working on the next one. We have a few songs. We're kind of in the engine room, so to speak, trying to get those ready and just try to keep moving forward. And keep doing stuff that interests us too. While staying true to what the original vision. Not going too far of a detour off the path. We
yeah,
prefer to play this kind of music, and even though we listen to different kinds of music, we try not to listen to bands that are too close to what we're doing because we don't want to be in.
yeah.
We don't want to directly
Understood.
rip anybody off, and we want to kind of have our own thing, the
Yeah.
original. Um,
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Banish the Skies is a strong opener. I am an absolute lover of melodics. Like that's my thing. But this track introduces, I think, a little bit of that blended of like melodics with like some of the newer elements of the album. And then the track, what is it? The Astrophed, is that the one? Astrophed?
Atrophied.
Yeah, that one is more kind of like that's one of my favorites because you've got like some old school death metal elements. I feel like you have in there on top of some of the groove guitars and pretty shape shifting drums. Do you ever have tracks that you enjoy writing more than others when it comes to like that? Like, do you like prefer a certain style?
They each have their own place, you know. That's the fun of doing it. When we're kind of getting in the creative zone, and letting the imagination kind of run. Atrophied, it kind of has, that's one of the songs on the album that kind of has a little bit of everything that we've been known for. Has, the kind of technical parts in the middle,
Yeah,
has kind of like the brutal parts in the beginning, and then it has that kind of halftime thing where it's like, that's kind of a little more melodic maybe. And then, but it's a Punisher, so that's definitely one. You cut out for a minute. I think you were talking about Banished. Is that
mm,
the song you were talking about? Yeah, that was the first song, kind of one of the first ones that we wrote for the album, and it's definitely it's kind of like a distant cousin to Angel's Venom in a way.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, kind of has that vibe to it. A song like The Dark Aura, which is kind of slower.
That's my
That
favorite of the album. Yeah, yeah,
that's kind of like a distant cousin to Fragments of Resolution from the second album. It kind of has that slower doomy thing.
yeah,
So everything kind of is still kind of connected to what we've originally done, but try to do stuff that's new too, and bring out new ideas. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, as far as a favorite of which style to write, we just try to come up with different ideas and not make an album that's just the same thing the whole time. Kind of have it some peaks and valleys, and
mm,
kind of go into different areas, and make it, more of a journey rather than just. I mean, not that there's cool albums that are that one dimensional thing, but we just get more. Personally, I get more out of trying to go different places and explore and make it, try to make it interesting, keep the listener involved.
I think that's why the Dark Aura is my one of my favorite tracks on there because you don't just have the melodics, you've got like different layers, as you said, like running through it. Although some would say it leans more to the technical side of of the album, you definitely keep the same raw energy from say like the Colossal Rage or Vapors.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I take from it anyway. That song really stands out to me on the album for those reasons. But yeah, I think it would be insane addition into like a live set. I think it would be really good.
Yeah. Should be good. Yeah. Hopefully we can do that one. Yeah, we're kind of working on the set list now, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, you have a tour planned in Europe with Biocancer, Rejected Sickness, and Deadwood, I think it is.
Yeah.
Deadwood, yeah, in April. Is there anywhere people can see you that you've not actually been before on this tour?
Well, I'm pretty sure Croatia. I don't think I've been there yet.
Yeah,
Uh, Lucerne, Switzerland. I've been there when I was with my family, actually, but I've never played there. But we've been to Switzerland a few times, so that's
yeah,
always beautiful. Um, yeah, there's some definitely ones off the beaten path we haven't done for sure.
yeah,
So
amazing. So also, lastly, I mean, I ask any musician, experienced or new, what is the best advice you can give those aspiring to be an artist to take their band as far as they can?
practice,
Yeah,
uh, yeah, and just the contracts and stuff. Make sure you know what you're signing. Don't sign your life away,
yeah, yeah,
because always make sure there's an out. Whether it be a few years down the road, but that was one of the big mistakes a lot of our contemporaries made. Bands like Obituary and Deicide and
yeah,
Malevolent, their early albums, they just have no control over them because they signed the contracts, were too, real strict, and
yeah,
now they have no choice. They can't do anything with their original albums. So that's one good thing about having my own label, Conquest Music, is that we own the material and we just do licenses, and that way we retain ownership. And every few years we can decide, hey, this isn't working out, or continue
yeah.
on because it is working out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, long may it continue even more.
Yeah,
Amazing.
that's the
Um,
plan. We hope.
absolutely. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. It was